What's up, people? It's your boy Leatherhead back with another video. And before I get into the topic of discussion for this video, I want to invite you guys to tune in later on tonight for the Live and Level Gamers podcast, which will be having a live stream. If you follow me on Google+, please go to my page and find the event and read through the description because the topics are there. And if you have a question pertaining to any one of those topics, please leave your question in the comments section. The video that sparked this video or this response is also going to be in discussion. So if you have a question about that video, us versus them, please leave it there in the comment section. And if you have any question, just leave it there. But like I said, please tune in later on tonight around 7:15 for the Live and Level Gamers podcast. So let's jump into this video because I want to deal with this before the podcast, so it's what I had to say is clearly outlined, all right? Because the who I'm responding to, I hold in high regard, I respect. I consider him a friend, even though at this time, you know, it might not seem like that. I just want to clear some things up so that he can get clarity on where I'm at and why I made that video, all right? So let's deal with it, man. I made the video, us versus them, really asking the question, why does every conversation that we have on our channels, that we have in our podcast, different groups and cliques and posses, always ends up being a us versus them conversation. That was the foundation. That was pretty much the blunt of my video. Why does everything have to end up being a us versus them? Why is this fandom council war narrative always bleeding into every conversation that we have? You know, and even though I'm responding to Mizzah Tee's response, the title of his video makes sense too, because a lot of the us versus them conversation is actually us versus us. But in this sense, him thinking that my video was aimed at him, Red Knight, and Terminator Juice is only correct because I'm aiming at the whole community. See, I'm holding this gun, and in my crosshairs at that day and at that time was this community that I'm a part of. And that's what I was aiming at. So yes, in a roundabout way, Mizzah Tee is absolutely correct. I was talking about him, Red Knight, and Terminator Juice, right? But I think he missed it because of a few videos where I just want to make this clear, because he said I did it in a roundabout way, or I'm side swiping, which I don't agree with, because when I addressed Red Knight, you, and Terminator Juice in a podcast that y'all made, I said your name. I made a video, I said this is a response, a respectful response to Terminator Juice, Red Knight, and Mizzah Tee. That's what I said. When I made the response to Street Fighter 5 being trashed by Red Knight, I said his name. I also made mention of other videos who shared his sentiments. I just didn't agree how Red Knight said it. I didn't disagree with his feelings far as Capcom should be ashamed of releasing this game in the state that it was in. I just didn't agree with the term trash. I just felt like the game was incomplete. And I also said something about Jedi Knight. I also said something about IGN. I also said something about Dr. Trey. So I don't throw no side swipes. So let's be clear on that. If I had something to say to Mizzah Tee, like right now, I would say this is at Mizzah Tee. If I had something to say to Red Knight that was directed at Red Knight, I would say, like I said before, this is a disagreement that I have with what Red Knight said. I didn't say it in an offensive way. I didn't say it ugly. Matter of fact, I thumbed the video up because I liked some of the content, but I just didn't agree with the aspect of the trash, and again, the narrative, us versus them. I've seen this in too many comment sections. I've seen this in a plethora of other videos that have nothing to do with Red Knight, that have nothing to do with Terminator Juice, that have nothing to do with you, Mizzah Tee. I've actually made some us versus them videos. That's why I said we all have some us versus them in us, but some of us take this stuff a little too serious. Now, with that being said, the underlying message I was trying to bring and the underlying conversation that I was trying to create is why. Why does everything end up being a us versus them conversation, or, like your response to me, a us versus us? That's my question. To me, if you watch that video, it should make you self-reflect and ask the question, and I apologize for moving my earphones, ask the question, do I do that? And if I do, why do I do that? Why do I word my videos when I'm critiquing another company's product? Why do I word it the way I word it? If I fit into the us versus them narrative, why do I seem to always have to bring in our community versus their community, and how we do things versus how they do things, and how we're smart because we understand? Why? Yeah, Street Fighters might be the conversation now, but this has been my thing for a while. This has been a theme I've been on for a minute. I tried to also address some of this when I made the video, what type of Nintendo fan are you? That kind of goes to the us versus us scenario, because some information that some of y'all introduced me to, matter of fact, you, Knight, and Terminator Juice introduced me to a beef that I didn't even know existed on YouTube, because I wasn't into it like that. And I didn't know that this beef was going on, which was a us versus us situation, which that don't need to be discussed right here. To me, it's dead, it's past tense, it's old. It ain't no big deal. But my question is why? Why? That's the question I'm asking. And I draw inspiration to ask this question from YouTubers like Mrs. K, who spends most of her time enjoying her games, playing her games, talking about, man, just enjoy your game. I never see her go into these type of us versus them scenarios, right? John Shaw is another inspiration. He has his opinions, he has his takes, but it's never a us versus them situation. It's just his take on a piece of hardware or a piece of software. It ain't about, man, I'm this Nintendo fan that needs to defend Nintendo and down with Sony, or vice versa. It ain't Sony fan and down with Microsoft, or Microsoft down with everybody because we losing, or whatever. It makes no sense, and that's what I'm trying to understand, because we are more talented than that simplistic, shallow narrative. Mizzah Tee, you are probably one of the best editors on YouTube, and I've said this so many times, you should have 200,000 plus subscribers. That's how good you are. So if I was throwing salt at you guys, I wouldn't tell you that you are some of the best. Red Knight is the most wittiest dude on YouTube. The way he come and how quick he is and how savvy he is and that New York swag he got, it's interesting, it's intriguing, but it's better if you take it somewhere else and not this us versus them narrative. Terminator Juice is good. He's got all this knowledge of games and the backlogs and all that, but if it stay on the us versus them narrative, what is it worth? And that goes for all of us, not just y'all, myself included. That there's a need for reinventing and reinvention and reimagining of our content, because we've been here so long. I can only imagine what Dr. Trey could be, or some of these other individuals. Nintendo Ultra, what could he be? I remember him doing the skits where he would come out and play these roles. This dude is creative. Do you have to fall into these other aspects? Do you have to take Obi-Wan's video and clown it? That's why I said something in the comments. I ain't running away. I'm trying to bring awareness to something that doesn't have to happen. So, to make a long, to wrap this thing up, no, I wasn't directly talking to you guys. And no, for the record, I have no issue with you. I have no issue with Red Knight. I have no issue with Terminator Juice. I have an issue with all of us and how we choose to approach our content on our channels and how we choose to throw logs on the flames of our comment sections and feeding this community stuff that ain't helping it. And it's the comment section that sparked the videos. Not the videos itself, but the comments that the videos encourage. The comments that the videos strengthen, that allow these people to come in our comment section and say some of the most nonsensical stuff. And no one call it out and be like, dude, that's nonsensical. I remember, and I'll use this as an example, and it makes all the sense in the world. I remember when John McCain was running against Obama and Sarah Palin was his running mate. And Sarah Palin brought a lot of tension, almost like Donald Trump is doing with the Republican Party. Sarah Palin had that same effect on the Republican Party or the Tea Party sector of the Republican Party. And I remember John McCain had like a town hall meeting where he was having a speech and a woman screamed out that Obama was an American and Obama was a Muslim and he's gonna destroy America and we gotta take, we can't let him get in the office. And John McCain, instead of just letting that rhetoric go on, John McCain stopped her in her tracks and said, no, he's not a Muslim and he's an American and he's a good man. We just have a difference of opinion. John McCain didn't buy into the narrative or the silliness of the person there watching him.
Ready to lose?
He squashed it. And what we do is, instead of squashing some of the nonsense in our comment section, we play into it. Now, when you ask me the question, I go in the video and I say thank you. I don't say thank you to nonsense. I say thank you to people who make sense and say something that makes sense. I don't go in and say thank you, man, when it's nonsense, or thank you when you say Red Knight sucks, or you say Terminator suck, or you say Zen Gamer suck, or you say Shokio is stupid. You ain't never seen me say, yeah, you right. Oh, man, no. I go in, I say, I don't comment on that. No, I ain't gonna cut it off my podcast or my comment section, but I don't thumb that up. I ignore that. But if you say something that makes sense, I dialogue with you or I say thanks, bro. That's what I do. Now, but my comment section doesn't motivate my videos. See what I'm saying? But I'm already gone longer than I planned on. My point is, no, Us Versus Them was not aimed at you, Terminator Juice, and Red Knight. But yes, it was aimed at you, Terminator Juice, and Red Knight, only because it was aimed at everybody in the community that I'm talking about, including myself. But with that being said, I hope that gives you clarity on what I was saying. I consider you a good friend and respected fellow YouTuber. I enjoy your content, which I said in the other video. I think you're one of the best. I think Red Knight is one of the best. I think Terminator is one of the best and coming into his own. I think other people are some of the best. I think Zen Gamer is one of the best communicators on YouTube. Yeah, I said his name for a reason, because all of us bring something great to the table. So it don't have to be a us versus them, meaning Nintendo versus Sony, and it don't have to be a us versus us, meaning this side of Nintendo versus that side of Nintendo. I was trying to cover it all, but I respect your response, and I say this, man, no problems. My phone is ringing. I got to get out of here, but no problems. And I hope that explains. Sorry for the technical difficulty. I'm not doing this over. I hope that explains my stance, and I hope you get where I'm coming from. And I hope that answers any issues that you have or any, I'm not going to say feelings, but any tensions that might have seemingly be created from my video. But with that said, this is your boy Leverhead about to sign out. Tune in to the podcast later on tonight. Until then, deuces.